A blockbuster trade shaking the foundation of the NHL. That second part might be hyperbole, but the first isn't. This was a real, legitimate blockbuster trade that sends ripples across the NHL. So, the deal is, the Colorado Avalanche send Mikko Rantanen, he of the awesome player status, but also pending UFA. He is on his way from the Colorado Avalanche to the Carolina Hurricanes in a 3-team deal that sees Carolina also get Taylor Hall in exchange for Martin Necas going back to Colorado, Jack Drury going to Colorado, and they send a 3rd-round pick to Chicago for Taylor Hall and half of Mikko Rantanen's salary. So you can already tell by how I've set this up how I feel about how each team did. Let's work our way through here. Colorado is the first one. This is obviously a gigantic shift and it's a bold move. And if you are not going to re-sign him, most teams, I would suggest almost all of them, in the situation Colorado is in, where it is Stanley Cup or bust basically every year, because you have one of the top 3 players in the league on your team. And so you just do not give up guys who are top 15 in the NHL talent. You just don't. And so for them to do that and make that move while they're battling for a playoff spot is insanity. You don't see it. And I think they do come out of this okay. You come out of this one looking all right. There is work to do. And I've said before that the biggest takeaway for this for Colorado is this has to be part 1. This cannot be the finished picture. They go out and they get Necas, who he is a fun player. I think that there is a ton of talent in him, and if he can just get that finish down a little bit more, then there is a really good player in there, bordering probably on special. It is just that the finishing ability hasn't been there in the way that I would want it to be. I'm sure someone can point to goal numbers and be like, oh, well, he's actually done this, so his finishing ability isn't even that bad. But when you look at it, he 28 goals a couple of years ago. He has 4 more in the postseason that year, so he has flirted with 30 a couple of times, but I would suggest that he has the talent everywhere else to be like a 30 to 40 goal scorer. It is just that the finish that just hasn't quite been there just yet for him. So that there is a world where this kid's awesome, and this ends up being a home run for the Avalanche because they're able to get him under lock and key, and they're able to bring him in there. And so like that works, but it is not a straight line replacement. Like this team on paper right now, I'm taping this at 1:16 Mountain Time on January 27th. They're worse than they were a week ago. Like this time last week, that Colorado Avalanche team on paper was better than this one that they're rolling out today. It is the freeing up of cap space that makes this the intriguing move for them, because they have been tied to everyone. And it like when I'm saying everyone, someone said Colorado isn't done last night. Honestly, I kind of wanted to do this reaction show last night, and then not last night, on Friday night. And then someone said, "Hey, Colorado might not be done." So I let it play out, let it roll, let it do its thing, and then eventually it was like, I mean, they're done for today, but they're not done. Now they are still, like, as we speak, they would technically be over the salary cap, but they do have LTIR with Gabe Landeskog. So in terms of like actual salary cap money, they have $3.9 million of it, and they will have that probably by the deadline. So they have some stuff that they can move around, I guess. But it opens up some space for them to make a very big, bold move that is part of this trade tree that then makes it make a bit more sense from a hockey perspective. The other part of it, like just breaking it all down again, Necas is fun. I don't think Drury is nothing. He hasn't developed. I kind of thought that there was a sleeper, like, hey, this guy could be something. And it hasn't worked out that way. You look at some of the secondary numbers and it's, oh boy. But he is a fine depth piece, I think. And then you look, like, the offense responded. They scored 5 against the Rangers on Sunday afternoon. But overall, this has to be part of something bigger. If this team wants to get back to the Stanley Cup, competing in a very competitive Central Division. The Wild just got Kaprizov and Spurgeon back. they are going to be getting salary cap space again next season, finally. The Winnipeg Jets are desperate and playing really good hockey right now. And the Dallas Stars are just lingering there with so much high-level young talent and a goalie that is stealing the show on a nightly basis. Like, that Central Division is tough. So you can't afford to be taking even a half step back in this division and just hope for the best. It is a really tough grind. And oh, by the way, right now, where they sit in the wild card, they'd play Vegas in the first round of the playoffs. Not fun. Fun for us. Want to see that matchup. Not fun for them. That is a really difficult one. So it is an okay move. It is a fine pivot and recovery, but it has to be part of a bigger move. Toxic, I see you mentioning there about the Calgary Flames. We are going to be getting to some Flames talk as well coming up here in just a little bit, once we wrap up this kind of trade discussion here. On the Carolina side, what a trade. Like, giving up Natchez is not nothing. But it was very clear with how things played out last year, like in the whole offseason and everything like that, this was not a guy that was part of their future. And now you are taking a bit of a gamble because Rantanen is not signed and there isn't a big deal that's lined up for him. So this could be just a really expensive rental. But it is also one that gets them closer to a championship level team. And when you look at how good the East is this year with, I know that LOL, but the Leafs, they have, like, that they're either first place or competing for first basically every day in their division. And they have done that with the big four being together, actually not a ton, with Matthews being injured for as long as he has. And now there's a Tavares injury in there, that they're having some injury issues. But the new style of play with Berube is A, better set up for the postseason, B, has put them in a spot where they're continuing to play really well. And again, competing for first place. So anyway, Leafs are good. It's funny. I feel like I need to justify the Leafs, and then every one of these other teams, you're just going to be like, yeah, no, they're good. But Leafs, good. Panthers, really good. Tampa Bay Lightning seem to be fine. The New Jersey Devils, tough injury news, but really good hockey team. The New York Rangers, seems like they've got that thing back on track, and maybe addition by subtraction was the way to go about it. So we are talking about a Carolina team that is really good, that you could conceivably have put in the back half of this conference right now. And so you go out and add a Rantanen, and then just get a Taylor Hall for free, basically. That is brilliant. Unbelievable move. You get off of a guy who you were kind of trying to move and didn't like the deals for him. So you keep him around, get some more value out of him, and now you're turning it into legitimately one of the best players in the world and a guy who has been there at least before and won a Hart Trophy before. And yes, has kind of fallen on some tough luck, but I'm going to assume that I can get more out of him because I got like 10 guys better than he was playing with. So you get a bit of a reclamation project that just the second you see him in that uniform, it's like, oh, well, this is going to work. So that they have really loaded up at the forward spot now. And again, there's pressure on this team to succeed because I think for a few years they have underachieved given the talent they have. And now they are going for it again. I think they hit a home run with this one. Honestly, they don't even take on Rantanen's full contract. So they're not swimming in cap space right now, but it gives you a bit more flexibility to maybe do a little bit more and to try to work on a few more things there. So they come out of this one smelling like roses. The last team involved in this, the Chicago Blackhawks, and like Toxic says in the chat, Blackhawks is an easy breakdown. What are they doing? I said it on Twitter. This deal and what they got back for it, it almost makes it feel like everything, it's going quick. Everything. Well, what about like, you guys just take Taylor Hall? Like, we kind of need to free up some cap space, whatever. You guys just take Taylor Hall. It's like, we don't really want to do that. Okay, whatever. And you just forget to hit the remove asset from the trade button on NHL, and he just still kind of hangs out there. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we'll take on some of the Rantanen money. We'll take a third for that. Yeah, that's maybe a little bit not as much, but we'll take a third back for that. That's fine. And then you hit trade, and then you show up at the building the next day. It's like, hey, where's Taylor? Like, did he get wind that we were thinking about trading him, but we decided to keep him at the end? And then it's like, wait, we did what? Huh? He was in that? No, I meant to take, I'm sure I took him. I'm not, because I remember I did that and then oh no. Oh, we left him in that trade. Like, that's what it feels like. Like Toxic saying in the chat, Taylor Hall should be a third by himself. And yes, like they healthy scratched him at one point in Chicago, and it wasn't going well for him out there, and he was really underproducing. But you have to understand that his value to every other team in the NHL is greater than what it is to yours. Because on your team, there are not the guys around him that can support him. But on Carolina, good Lord. So it's a weird value proposition because on the one hand, like, yeah, you're not getting the best Taylor Hall, but you can get the best out of Taylor Hall. And so I feel like Chicago sold absolutely low on him. I think a third should get you Taylor Hall by himself. I also think taking on $4.5 million of Rantanen's money should get you, honestly, a third itself. And you could, if I was being a dick negotiator that day, I'd probably be asking for a second because that is not an insignificant amount of money. Now it's this season, so it doesn't really matter to Chicago, but both things that they gave up should have been worth at least a third round pick. And then you combine them and you should get something really solid out of it. So to only get a third is just another case of wild mismanagement for the Blackhawks. And I'm not saying Chicago should be trying to get better right now. I think another trip in the lottery is definitely where they are going. But you need to get actual NHL players to surround Bedard with. Because right now, I'm not saying he is regressing, because that's a bit much. But this is not the rookie or the sophomore season that you need him to have. And you are not seeing the development and you are not seeing the results that you need from him. And it is getting very concerning if you are the Chicago Blackhawks. And now you're taking away one of the few actual NHL players you have on the team and replacing it with nothing. They shouldn't be going out and now trying to get Sidney Crosby. But I do think that they should overall be sellers, but I think kind of stealth buyers in trying to get a couple of guys in there that Bedard can play with and at least get this ball rolling in a positive direction right now. Like, there's just nothing for them to work with out there except for an exceptional talent. And we have seen in this sport a lot, that's not enough. It's not enough. Other fallout from this. Holy crap, the Canucks are screwed. Apparently, a lot of what this deal was going to be going to Vancouver for JT Miller, and Carolina ends up pulling the plug on that and ends up getting Mikko Rantanen instead, which, yeah, you do that 100 times out of 100. You make that move. It makes complete sense, but now it's basically only the Rangers left at this point. And that, the deal that they were going to get, it was basically Hedl and a couple of other, like, fringy type pieces, right? That's honestly probably not enough for JT Miller. And so you are now trading this thing at 50 cents on the dollar. And the problem is it's all hanging over this organization so badly. Like, they looked so uninterested against Edmonton the other night in a game that you knew Edmonton was going to be fired up for, in a game you kind of need. Like, they're not in a playoff spot right now. And, like, they are literally getting their faces knocked down their throats. Their teeth knocked down their throat right now. And they're just like, whatever. They're giving up 5 goals to the Kings, who have scored the least or second fewest amount of goals of any team currently in a playoff spot right now. They lost to the Buffalo Sabres, who no one does that. They're giving up gigantic point totals to the Edmonton Oilers, who didn't have Connor McDavid. Still a good team, but didn't have Connor McDavid. And you're giving up gigantic point totals to them. Demko can't make a save. Your two best players can't play with each other. Your coach and captain can't get this thing under control. And I'm not blaming Quinn Hughes or really even Rick Tocchet for any of this, but it is just such a disaster of a situation that it is, I think at this point, you almost just have to make the move just to do it. Like, just to get him out of there and let this team figure out what it is without him there. Because Besser's gone at the end of the season. If this thing keeps going his way, why would he come back around for that? Like, no. What an awful team to be around. So this has to get figured out very quickly. And right now, like, if I'm any other contending team in the NHL, I don't want that guy within 100 yards of my rink. Are you kidding me? This is now Horvat and Pettersson that he is having troubles with. Like, Horvat, I think, is a phenomenal player. Phenomenal captain, type of guy you win with. Elias Pettersson, has it gone awesome since the ink dried on that contract? It hasn't. But does that mean that he is a lost cause and should just be whatever? No! He is an incredibly talented hockey player that you can build a championship team around. And he's got a problem with both, and he's going to make you run both of them out of town? I wouldn't want this guy anywhere near my hockey team. And apparently no one else does either, because it's so low now that they're considering trading Elias Pettersson, which I think would be an unmitigated disaster. I think that would be, like, you are getting a haul back for that guy, but It is so difficult to replace that level of high-end talent that you are chasing that forever if you are trying to get it. You hit the lottery on that. The Canucks have never won the lottery before, but you got it on that one. And like to think you have a core of him, Besser, Hughes, and Demko, and it is turning into this. It is just wild mismanagement out there, and like they need to get this solved quickly. And I honestly think the only thing that is actually solving this is get JT Miller out of town, because it is a just straight tire fire out there right now.